Namaste and welcome to Live, Love, Engage. I am Gloria Grace Rand, and today we're going to be talking about breakthroughs in business. And let me explain what I mean by that a little bit. So you know how when you're in a corn maze and you're not sure if you should go left or right, but when you step on a ladder, suddenly the maze is no longer a mystery. Well, that's what my guest, Jarrod Haning, does for business owners. By teaching them how to think at a higher level, they are able to see the whole picture, and suddenly the obstacles that were blocking their growth no longer exist. And everything he teaches comes down to this one thing. A breakthrough in your business will first happen as a breakthrough in your thinking, which I love. So welcome, Jarrod, to Live, Love, Engage.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate having you here. And let me just tell you a little bit more about this gentleman, because he is an award-winning speaker. And I can attest to this because I have watched one of his TEDx talks and was very impressed with it. It's related to mindset performance, but he's also been on ABC Nightline, spoken on stages all across the country. He's got clients around the world. He's also been chosen by TED Global as a featured speaker of the week. And what makes him unique is that he specializes in a Nobel Nominated process that teaches you how to think at a higher level and allows you to access different parts of your brain on demand. And as a result, most of his clients go on to double their income by purposely working half as many hours. And who doesn't want to do that? you know? And if that's not enough, he's also a classically trained musician, which has also equipped him with a unique set of tools for leveling up your leadership. And when he's not doing that, well, except for during coronavirus days, I guess you'd normally find him, or maybe he has been still flying, skydiving, or mountain bike riding. And I love this. This is really fun, is that he says his most prized accomplishment was winning the World Tickle Championship in the 5-year-old category. So you have to explain that actually first, real quick.
Oh,
Come on.
okay. Truth be told, that is
Yes.
a fictitious title that I made up and gave to myself.
Okay. Well, I like it.
I only have one kid, and he's
Okay.
no longer 5.
Ah.
He's now 10.
So basically the championship was at home, huh? Is that it?
Yes,
Competing
yes, it
against him.
was. It was
Well, very cool.
many years ago.
Well, I like that. I think that's awesome. So, well, let's talk a little bit now about this. The having a breakthrough in your business, and part of this, one of the things that you claim is that normally we are so focused on getting things done that actually kills your productivity and checking things off the to-do list, which I must confess, I do like doing that from time to time, is that it actually lowers your income. So why do you say that?
So productivity is not about getting things done. It's actually about causing things to be done. When you check something off your to-do list, you don't solve the problem of why it had to be done to start with. And if you're the one doing the work, well, you're going to be the one doing the work again tomorrow. And that is a bad strategy that we just can't solve with stubbornness. Even epic Olympic levels of stubbornness cannot fix that bad strategy. So one of the reasons that trying harder doesn't move the ball forward, it doesn't work, it actually just masks the problem, is because trying harder, working smarter even, these are just themes on a variation, more of the same. Trying to work smarter is just coming up with more of the kinds of ideas that already make sense. And those are the kinds of ideas that have you stuck to start with. Working harder just is doing more of the activities that already make sense to do. And like I mentioned earlier, when you check something off your list, if it doesn't address what caused the demand to start with, you didn't fix the problem. And no matter what you're doing in that block of time, no matter how good you are at it, there's 27 other things that aren't getting done. And so this is just really sophisticated spinning your wheels. Productivity, though, is about causing things to be done. And we do that by building systems and relationships. This actually came out of the work with the Nobel nominated mind scan as we look at the actual thinking patterns of 7, 8, and even 9-figure earners. And we're able to see that they don't always have enough free time and always have enough results because of their job. It's the way their brain solves problems. And the way it solves problems is different in such a way that it's producing free time and results kind of as a byproduct. And that's one of the ways that we know that you just can't outwork a bad strategy. In order to move the ball forward, instead of checking things off your list, focus on building systems to support you. Focus on building relationships to support you. Now, caveat, there's a trap with this. And the trap is that when you check something off your list, it feels good. It's like candy for the brain. You get a little hit of dopamine. It feels like, haha, I got something done. When you build a system or a relationship to support you, you don't get to check anything off your list that day. And so it feels like you didn't get anything done. Even worse, maybe tomorrow your system broke down, or maybe tomorrow the relationship broke down. So now you're tempted to get back into, well, it's just faster for me to do it myself.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And so you got to push through that and go, okay, where did I make a mistake in the system? Maybe these aren't the 3 important things. Maybe it's those were the more important. Where did I make the mistake in the training or the relationship or delegating? And so that you begin to improve what causes things to happen. And so even then you don't get to check anything off your list. But the next day, you'll never have to do that task again. And we have actually moved the ball forward by creating more free time and more results at the same time. So that's a little bit about why trying harder doesn't work, and why a to-do list keeps you from getting anything done. Be happy to look at how a to-do list, using a to-do list is destroying your destroying your income. You tell me, where should we go from here?
Well, I tell you what, before we go to that, because you did mention mind scan and briefly. So for those who are, listening who've never heard of that, I mean, we've heard of like EEG, gets scans your brain. So what exactly is a mind scan, and what are you looking for? Because you mentioned that were able to examine, these 7, 8, 9-figure earners and get results, but what were you measuring? I suppose might be my question.
Okay. It's a small caveat. It's not a medical device. It is a scientific assessment of how your brain makes sense of the world, of how it solves problems. Because of that, we're able to see why, in your case, given your situation and circumstances and your strengths and your genius areas, and we're able to see why the ideas that make sense are also the ideas that are holding you back, that are tripping you up. And that's what a blind spot is in our thinking patterns. It's an idea that we over cherish. And by over cherishing it, we hold it too close to our face.
Right.
And so it blocks everything behind it. From our perspective, it's like, but this is a really good thing. It makes a lot of sense. Yes. And you're holding it too close. That's why you keep running into obstacles like not having enough time or not having enough money or whatever it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense because you can't see it. Because it's covering your eyes. That makes so much sense. And so then how does that, I guess, is that part of maybe what the blind spot is, that we're checking off your list is checking things off your list is actually hurting your results, and it's hurting the income that you're able to generate?
Oh, a couple things there. So, a blind spot is going to be different for everybody. And there's kind of no way around having them. It's just like having a car. Cars come with blind spots.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just that in a car, the reason you accidentally backed into something was because there's something about it you didn't see. And so in a car, when that happens, you physically get out of the car so you can see from an angle you couldn't before. But in life, whenever we bump up against something, we just keep bumping up against it.
Mm.
And you can't read the label from the inside of the bottle. You have to get out of that way of thinking. One of the ways that we do that is with the mind scan by getting the thinking patterns printed up. And that's how we're able to get out of your head, and we can see where the breakthroughs are waiting for you, the blind spots that are. But this idea that, let's say, for some people, it makes a lot of sense to them that the more action you take, the more results you have.
Mm-hmm.
And this way of thinking makes an awful lot of sense. It really does. It's just that we know it doesn't work. And I mean, you don't even need the mind scan to see that, just anecdotally.
Yeah.
The people who pride themselves on getting things done the most, the people who pride themselves on getting go-getters and action takers and checking things off their to-do list, those are the same people that always have more on their to-do list than they have time to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Because that strategy, that way of thinking that says action gets results, causes the brain to look for more action to take. The belief is, if I can find more action to take, then I will get more results.
Right.
It's just a way of thinking. But productivity isn't about getting things done. It's about causing things to be done. Now let's take a little bit look at what you mentioned earlier about income and to do.
Right.
So the reason that using a to-do list kills your productivity is because your brain is focused on getting things done. And that's a bad strategy. It's like if you're driving to your friend's house and you're lost, driving faster can't fix being on the wrong road.
That's true.
You have to stop and look at the map.
Yeah.
So that's what using a to-do list is like, working harder and faster. It can't fix a bad strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the income aspect of it comes from, if you look at your to-do list, like try to find something on there that couldn't be delegated for $10 or $15 an hour, provided the person had the right system that was simple and easy to follow, and they were trained properly on it. There's nothing on your to-do list that couldn't be delegated for $10 or $50 an hour. I mean, even authors delegate writing their book to someone else. Eye surgeons delegate making the incision, pulling out the lens, making the new stitches. I mean, some eye surgeons do all that themselves.
Right.
Some eye surgeon, and they'll do like 6 or 7 surgeries in a day, and they're just like swamped. That's a busy day.
Yeah.
But other surgeons have trained a team of techs who only specialize in that one small part of the eye surgery. And they will do 40 surgeries in a day, just because they have managed to do the hard work of teasing out the system. Any which way, so there's nothing on the to-do list that couldn't be delegated for $10 or $15 an hour, provided they had the right system and they were trained properly on how to do that. What that means is the more excited we are about checking things off our to-do list, the more excited we are about paying ourselves the lowest amount possible.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a distraction.
Absolutely. I totally get that, because I know that, well, there's a couple of things that I wanted to just highlight there. One of the things you talked about, the importance of systems, because the very first time that I ever hired a virtual assistant, I did not have systems in place. And in fact, I didn't even set expectations for her. So of course, she disappointed me because I didn't set the expectations in the first place of how she was supposed to communicate. She was supposed to read my mind. And that doesn't work very well at all. So it really is important to have like a system in place so that you can say, okay, I want this done, on this day, and then this done in this way, and here's a video on how to do that. And that way everything is clear for that person to do, because then it's going to make their job easier and your job to be able to do other things, freeing yourself up for time for that. So the next time I hired someone, it was much better. But you're reminding me that I am doing too much on my own again, and I need to get some more help.
Yeah, the
because this is definitely nothing I've heard before, and it's that difference between working on your business and in your business. So Yeah.
Yeah, the trap is, well, I mean, gosh, by the time I document the 3 important steps and shoot a tutorial and then walk them through how I could have just done it.
Right. Yeah.
And then even then, after they do it, they're probably not going to do it as good as I can. And I'll have to
Mhm.
go back and fix something. And so I could have just done it again. It's just easier for me to do it myself.
Yeah.
The issue isn't, can you do it faster or can you do it better? The issue is, what is the highest and best use of your time?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So I think for me, one of the things that has helped me, and I suspect, which is why you do what you do, is that because of those blind spots, that sometimes we need to hire someone to help us uncover those blind spots. So now, one of the things that I know is really good is hiring a coach. So now you are what type of a coach? You're a, is it performance coach? Is that correct? Or how do you
Um,
describe yourself? Or,
yes, yes. In
yeah.
my world, I work as mindset performance,
Okay.
so mindset mentor, if you will. What distinguishes the work I do, I would say the difference between a life coach and a
Right.
strength coach. So, if you go see a life coach, they're going to say, "Oh, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think you should do?"
Mm.
Well, what you think you should do is what has you in a situation to start with. If you go see a strength coach, they're not going to say, "Oh, what exercise do you think you should do today?"
Mm.
No, you hired them for a specific result. And so they tell you, do 3 of these, do 2 of those, come back and see me tomorrow.
Mm.
And that's why you get the result, just like that.
Right.
So in the work of mindset performance, at least in my work, we don't guess. The doctor doesn't guess. The doctor
Mhm.
can't see inside you. They order a diagnostic.
Yep.
Here, let's print up an MRI so we can see what's going on. So we start with the mind scan, which maps out your thinking patterns. And from there, we can see exactly where the blind spot is that's been tripping you up, that's been
Mhm.
causing that repetitive block in your life or your business. And we're able to see where the breakthrough is, the
Yeah.
opportunity your mind just, for whatever reason, hasn't noticed yet. And then the path from there to where you want to go, we do with what we call mindset push ups.
Mm.
And just like a physical push up rewires your nervous system, rewires your
Mhm.
metabolism, your body begins to treat food nutrients differently.
Right.
A mindset push up rewires your neurology, and it creates kind of a scaffold, if you will, for your thinking patterns to begin to ascend and view the situation from a higher perspective. And that's
Mm.
how you're able to see things you weren't able to see before.
Mm. That's awesome. Let me ask you that this, this year has been certainly a challenging year, I think, for many business owners. I mean, a lot of small businesses were impacted. Had to even shut their doors, had to maybe pivot and do something totally different. Have you found in your working with clients at all, has the pandemic maybe heightened, either made people maybe either more aware of their blind spots or maybe just even created more of them? What's been your experience this year?
As far as blind spots, I would say the pandemic is like money, is like alcohol, is like marriage, in that they are magnifiers.
Mm.
Money, alcohol, marriage, they just make you more of what you already are.
Mm.
So the good gets better and the bad gets worse.
Mm.
The pressure cooker that is quarantine and COVID,
Mhm.
it just exposes your business for what it already was.
Mm.
And if you were a propped up facade,
Mhm.
then, well, the props have been taken away.
Right.
So now you're going to have to dig a foundation if you want to
Mhm.
survive. Um, that's how I would respond to
Okay.
blind spots and COVID.
I appreciate that. Um, and this is now just a separate question because I was just intrigued to know that you are a musician as well. So how has did that actually factor in at all in, or what maybe even prompted you to sort of change change careers. Let's put it that way.
Yes. So I was full-time classical music for about 20 years. Both my undergraduate and graduate are music. I was principal viola with the South Carolina Philharmonic. What some people don't know about music is that when you're engaged in music, even if you're just singing along to the radio while you're driving down the road, in that moment where you are engaged, collaborating, co-creating in music, you're using more different parts of your brain than any other time. This is well documented with MRI studies, a sharp contrast to athletic performance, where the better your body is performing, the less of your brain you're using. Your brain enters a quiet meditative state because it can't afford to take up glucose. The glucose needs to go to the muscles.
Gotcha.
But music is the opposite. It's a fireworks show. As a matter of fact, it is so much of a fireworks show that you can hold the brain, as gross as that is, of a musician in your hands. And there's a fibrous network that allows the right and left half to communicate with each other. That fibrous network is called the corpus callosum. And in a musician, their corpus callosum is visibly thicker than in a non-musician. And that's just because their brain has had to rewire itself to handle the bandwidth of that fireworks show in all different parts of the brain. So when I was a full-time musician, I would give a series of talks called The Musical Secrets, where I would teach people how to access different parts of their brain on demand. Well, now through the Nobel nominated work of Robert Hartman, we're able to print up somebody's thinking patterns, start from there, teach them how to access more different parts of their brain on demand to take them where they would like to go, be it in a relationship or business.
Very cool. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, I'm glad I'm a musician then. So
Yes.
that's awesome. Well, cool. Well, I think that we are unfortunately running out of time because I know that you've got another engagement. If someone wants to be able to learn more about the mindset performance, the mind scan, maybe even be able to take one of those and be able to learn about how their thinking process, what's the best way for someone to reach out to you?
Hit me up on mindsetperformance.co. If you are curious what's possible in your own mindset or how any growth there would affect your business or your life, don't take my word for it. Just try the mind scan for yourself. See what you think. See if you think what it reveals is helpful or a good fit for your business. And if it is, go use it. You don't need to be a client of mine at all to do any of that. But mindsetperformance.co.
Awesome. Yeah. And I will say I did peek, and you do have a sample results so that people can kind of see the type of report that they're going to get. And I think that is very useful. So I'm glad that you have that on there. So I might have to take that myself because I'm curious. So I really appreciate you spending some time here this afternoon with us and talking about mindset performance. And I think I have to run myself here. So until next time, as always, I encourage everyone to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.